Just record there. Let me just brighten up my screen a little bit. Oh, we're on nighttime there. So whilst I'm waiting for people to come in. Now yesterday, I didn't get any comments. Just waiting for it to come in a moment. I didn't see any comments. So, hey, Janie. I don't always see people coming in, and I don't see any comments. But do chat amongst yourselves, because that's really awesome. Do say hi. It says comments will appear here. Morning, everyone. I can see your comment this morning, Janie. So that's amazing. So there we go. Let me just double check. I've even got Facebook up here. There we go. So say hi. People are going to come in as they come in. Morning, Janie. That's awesome. Let's see if that's there we go. Okay, so it's live. That's fine. I cast a spell. Amazing. Okay, sorry, Ziki. Oh, there you go, Ziki. Ziki's tired. Right. Okay, cool. Everybody, right, okay. So morning, Jan. Oh, your spell's working, Jane, because I can actually see people. However, Zoom recording wasn't that's all stopped. Right, so here we go. Here's hoping we can get it all sorted. Ziki is tired and sleeping. There we go. Right. So one thing I want to do, a little bit of housekeeping, is that this group, I set it up a month or so ago, not knowing I was going to be doing this challenge in it. Right. So I set it up as a public group. And because I wanted people to find it and see it and share. So it is public. Now, the plan for this group is to make it private. Now that actually, I looked at it last night, that takes me 3 days. That takes me beyond the challenge anyway. So it will be going private at some point. But what I wanted to say is that anything that you don't want people to see publicly, don't write in here. So if stuff comes up for you that you think, oh, actually, I'll share that, and you wouldn't mind sharing it with anybody, share away. If, however, it's something that comes out like, whoa, kapow, and I had a lot of messages yesterday with some kapow moments, right? Message me, because for this week, you have access to me, because whenever I do a challenge or a masterclass or anything like that, I want to make sure that everyone's okay, like emotionally safe. So I wouldn't do anything like this if I didn't then offer myself to help you deal with anything that comes up because of it. So I had quite a few messages yesterday. So feel free to message anything you feel you do want to share. Please do. But yeah, I wanted to just make sure, I want to be super transparent and say that, yeah, it'd be somebody, came to me yesterday, so it's a public group, oh my goodness, and got really triggered by the fact, or really upset, not triggered, but upset by the fact that it was public and the stuff might have been shared. It's like, oh my goodness. So I just wanted to put it out there. First of all, it is currently public. Good morning, Lisa. So yeah, like I said, I had a few messages through the afternoon and through the evening. So interesting. So interesting. My word of the moment is interesting. Patterns that came up were like, there's one person, well, a few people actually talked about food and drink, how the pattern is around food and drink, and how part A starts, and then we have this kind of spiral or this pattern that leads you to drink or eat, even if you don't, and not necessarily because of bad things are happening, because of good things. So basically the extremes of emotional extremes of events that are happening in your life. Okay, so these can cause X, Y, and Z, will cause you then to eat or drink in a way that actually makes you feel bad. Now, this can be for two reasons. So I'll briefly go into our upper limits, really briefly, but because I love it and I talk about it a lot within my courses and stuff. But basically, so say, for example, you get the job of your dreams. It could mean then you go overindulge in food and drink to make you feel shit. Because anybody who worked with me before will know about upper limits, that if we have got the job of our dreams, it's almost like too much happiness, too much goodness. We need to bring ourselves down a little bit. Okay. And the opposite can happen when life is going shit. We do X, Y, and Z because life is shit. It might as well just get shitter. So often the extremes of happiness, the extremes of stuff going on in your life can actually lead you to exactly the same point. And that's why a lot of people don't understand that, well, how come when I do this, when life's going well, I do this, when life's going badly, I do this. It's a little bit like smoking, right? Because smoking, if any of you have ever smoked or do smoke, I'm an ex-smoker, so I used to smoke. Now, what was incredible, I remember someone said to me, like, it's amazing, isn't it, how smoking does all these things. Smoking calms you down, it perks you up, it gives you a breather, it also stops you breathing, it cures all these things. So there's no drug in the world. Hi, Alison. Oh, morning, Julie. Morning, Jan. Morning, Lisa. Morning, Jane. Oh, lovely. Or how can smoking do all of these things? How can it calm you down and perk you up? There's no drug in the world that does that. And I'm like, oh, yes, because you're making it mean something. You're making it something that it just isn't, and that's you. I'm like, oh, and it's the same with life events. So if basically our nervous system or our subconscious cannot deal with either that expressed sadness or really good things happening, we will end up in that pattern of behavior. So with food and drink, it's the same with anything, with absolutely anything. So you're like, well, that's great. I know what I do. You found your pattern. Has everybody found a pattern that they wanted to work on? And did you, I hate to say homework because I actually agree with homework, but did you do the work that just to see what's my start point? When does this thing happen? What triggers me to do this? And then what are the points? And did anybody do that? You don't need to tell me, just a simple yes, I did, or no, I didn't, or what you're talking about. But a simple so you can, it's not for me, it's for you, so you can actually see what pattern, 2 patterns. And yes, I did the homework. Jane, of course you did. That's amazing. Yes, amazing. Oh, do you know what? Because I know if someone tells me to do homework, I go no, even if it'll be good for me. That's my pattern. Is if someone in authority tells me to do something, I'm very unlikely to do it, because and I know where that comes from, and this is what we're going to do today. So I can then now override my pattern. Yes, I'm working on my thing for authority, but the last couple of years have given me a bit more of a disdain for authority. But I can actually override it to do what's good for me and to do what's right for actually me and my family and things. Okay. No problem, Alison. It's just quite a handy thing when you are stuck in a loop to know what the loop is. So just like it's just quite, I find it, here's my word again, very interesting to see what the loop is. You are in authority or not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's, yeah. So I used to let's talk about authority quickly. So what I've found is the more that I dislike something, I'm given the opportunity to not make it mean anything. So I really hated anybody telling me what to do with my children. So then I got the opportunity to look into that a little bit more, to be able to go, well, okay, what does it mean to you? Why are you so scared? And actually, my pattern for saying, I don't need help, I don't need help, I don't need help from anybody with my children. No, I don't need any help, was because I was so scared they were going to leave me. And that came from a past life when my children were taken. Well, actually, when I was it's another story for another day, but actually it was when I was an Egyptian queen, and the war took my son, so that I didn't want to have any more babies, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, and that's where it comes from. So when I was able to understand that, I was able to not care about authority so much when it came to my children. Anyway, we digress. So there are lots and lots of ways to understand and see where patterns come from, right? And some of those ways, in all honesty, take a little bit more digging and take a little bit more time, as in the moment. And it's probably in a different format. So, for example, when I run my group coaching and things, we dig a little deeper within that group format. But what we can do in this format is actually really dig up some really great stuff quite simply. Now, when you look at your pattern, again, if you know me at all, everything is about the story, the origin, why are we doing it? And that's what we need to find. We don't need to find who we're blaming to be who's being an idiot, who's in my life right now. What we need to know is what started it all. Okay. And in my experience, it's never one, it can be one thing, but what can happen is, I just put my boob away. There we go. He's currently asleep. So I thought I might put it away, maybe have a bit of dignity just for a moment, just for a little bit. So what actually caused it? So if we're working on the drinking thing or the food thing, yes, you know what triggers it, but why? And what is the story behind it? And the best way to find stories and to dig it is to think about this pattern. So tune into this pattern in your body, in your heart, and just tap. So just tap. If you know tapping, then tap. If you don't know tapping, follow me. So inside of the eye, just follow me. I'm not going to talk you through the tapping points right now. Just follow me and just ask the question. If I knew a story that someone had told me that helped this pattern happen, what would it be? So for example, when it comes to the wine and the food thing, when you say, well, why would it be? Well, do you know, because my mum always used to come in, have a hard day and had a drink, and it made her feel bad. I watched that. She'd have a drink and it'd make everything okay. Interesting. Right. Write that down. Okay. Why else would I drink? Because the smoking thing. I remember I started smoking because I was told they were called skinny sticks, and I wanted to be thin. Hark, anorexia. But the reason tapping helps is because it helps you release emotions. Unless you're, if you are a tapper or aren't tapping, I'm not going to go into the wonders of tapping. It's just a really great way to let the emotions rise up and to let the origin stories kind of rise up. So just tap, tap, tap. Okay, so think about your pattern. Just tune into your pattern. Tune into where it starts, what happens, what is the trigger point, and we're going to see about the family story behind it. So the other people's stuff, because honestly, a lot of our stuff is inherited or is gifted. So what gift were you given by whom about this? So if it's to do with the pattern of the drinking or the food thing, eating and drinking, let's go with alcohol. What do you know to be true from your family? It's really interesting because there's that word again. It's fantastically interesting because of that, because it's gifted information. So write that. So I want to see if anybody got any little stories coming up. I don't know whether comments have stopped or you're just tapping and you're really involved in it, but don't necessarily want to know Tapper's beliefs behind it, just the stories, just where this is coming from, the stories that are running in your subconscious. We then get to go to beliefs, but the story almost takes us beyond the beliefs. I think the stories are so important. Yes, they do lead us to the beliefs, but when we understand the why and the story, right? So where's the starting point? Okay, so something great happens. Okay, so well, hang on a sec. So if alcohol numbs it, this really good thing happening to me doesn't feel normal, doesn't feel natural, because good things don't happen to me. We have a little bit of a belief there. So I know I'm going to take away that uncomfortable feeling, because I know that alcohol will help me feel comfortable. Because I know because my mum always did that. So it's thinking about the stories behind everything that's going on. All we are is a whole bunch of stories running. Now, you might know your beliefs, right? You all EFTers or people who've done work, right? And most people who are in my world have done a little bit of work, right? If not a load, if not a shit ton of work, right? So, you might think, oh, I know that I don't believe I'm worthy. Yeah, I've got a belief of not being worthy. Totally great. Yeah, but why? Right? Let's look at the why. Let's be an annoying toddler now and say, well, why? Where does that come from? Who told you that? Because you don't get born as a baby and think, oh, I'm unworthy. I am unworthy, and I'm going to now spend a lifetime telling myself I'm unworthy. We all also know that 0 to 2 right? It's like Spongeville, right? That is when our brains are sucking it in. We're busy forgetting why we're here, and we spend the rest of our life trying to remember what we came in to do. It's utterly fascinating, right? So we are sponges in that first 0 to 2, and yet we aren't creating any decisions. We're just soaking it all in. So all of our beliefs come from somebody else's mouth, come from somebody else's story or our past life. But when we're born in this world, we have our past life stuff, but everything is coming from our experience and what people are telling us about ourselves. Even as little as, oh, aren't you a chubby little baby? Isn't that gorgeous? Bing bong. That might then stick and go, chubby is gorgeous. Right. So of course you're going to spend your life then you then grow up thinking, oh, actually, but my subconscious says chubby is gorgeous because that's what was told to me when I was a tiny baby. But the world says, if you grew up in the 90s like I did, Kate Moss is gorgeous. How do I do that? So you spend your lifetime in tussle and not knowing why, because you've got everybody else's stories coming at you. And you know what we don't listen to is this one right in here. We don't, our internal dialogue is so like, boo. And that's where overwhelm comes in. So when we're always as a martyr, or we're always subject to other people's stories, overwhelm is humongous. And what I have learned, and actually one of my, I put a great deal of, I like how she operates and stuff. A woman called Jess Keating, she's fantastic. She says overwhelm is when you are taking on other people's stuff and it isn't sitting with you. And because it isn't sitting with you, it feels unpleasant, and therefore overwhelm happens. If you were living in spirit and living with your own beliefs and your own stories, the overwhelm wouldn't happen because it would sit pleasantly with you. So most of our beliefs are other people's stories coming at you. Okay, so the chubbiness and then the Kate Moss, whoa, how do you then do that? So it's understanding and seeing, and how are you going to remember that when you're 0 to 2? You'll know it. This isn't about thinking, oh, what did my mum used to do? I can't think. Stop thinking. That's why tapping is great. It takes the thinking, the conscious out of it. We're looking for subconscious knowings, subconscious things that you know about yourself that were gifted to you. Does that help? Okay, I hope so. So subconscious knowings. It can, like, if one of my patterns, which I am in the process of really breaking, was that I push people away when I need them the most. Okay, so when I'm in real distress, that's when I turn into a bit of a cowbag and I'm not very nice, and I push the people away, and all they want to do is give me a cuddle. But what I do is I push them away. Massively independent, massively hyper independence is something that I'm absolutely nailing, doing better at, and I've been given lots of opportunity to nail that, and the choice has been I don't want to do the hyper independence anymore. So the pattern, so how I break it is I see the weakest link. So I know where it comes from now. I know where that all comes from. It's like, whoa, it was like a real, right. Okay. So just because I know why I do it. Now I need to break this pattern. I'm going to talk about that a little bit Thursday at 10, right? But so today, what you need to do, if you so choose to, is come up with the stories. You've got today and tomorrow. Tap away. I will put a little tapping video so you know all the points in this group. Okay, so tap away and just say, if I knew the story, if I knew who's gifted this to me or where it comes from, look to the other people who've done it, though, rather than internalizing it. It's a different spin on it, but it's so amazing when you look at the stories that you've been told and the stories you've just taken on that aren't yours. The reason it's so cool is because it's easier to just get rid of. And when you realize, well, that's not even mine. Like, I don't believe that. Like I said, so I think I said in the group yesterday that, Business Bee Club, I said yesterday that I was always told that I found the difficult way in things. So I was told it so much that I assumed that everything I did, it was because it was difficult, but it wasn't. I just didn't want to do it the same way as everyone else, because for me, it was easier doing it another way. But because but actually my mom, I love my mom, is amazing, but she said, oh my God, why you do it? That just looks really hard work. Why do you do everything the hard way? It's a hard way to do it. Lucy will find it. And I was like, I didn't believe it, but I got told it. And all of a sudden it kind of sunk in that was me, but it wasn't me. And so it didn't quite sit with me. And so every time I did something different, I said, oh, I'm doing it the hard way. And I'd try and stop myself, because that's not good, when actually it's just different. And for me, my brain seems to work quite differently to other people's, and things that might seem really hard work to somebody doesn't seem like hard work to me. It just seems like a natural way to do things. Okay, so that was gifted to me and I took it on. And when I realized it wasn't mine, I was able to make life easy. I was able to literally go, oh, that's a story that's not mine. That's something I have believed because I've been told it about myself. Same as, oh, drinking pacified drinking makes everything better. Smoking, same as smoking. Oh, only fun people smoke. Now that isn't something that you were born believing. That's something that you've then gone, hang on, you've seen it around you. Everyone's having fun. They're all outdoors smoking. I mean, who remembers when, I lived in Scotland when they brought the smoking ban indoors, and all the fun was happening outside. So everyone went outside to smoke, and that's where the fun was happening. But that's just what you believe, because if you're outdoors having fun, how do you know what's going on inside? And actually, how about if everyone just went inside anyway and just had fun? What I'm saying is that a lot of things are things we're seeing, things we're being gifted that aren't in us. And that's why we feel uneasy and why we feel a little bit discontent and not in alignment. It's because the beliefs we're running are not even ours. And the stories we're telling ourselves don't come from us, don't come from our soul, don't even come from our own trauma. They come from other people's trauma that they've told us is true about us. So if you do come up with somebody came up with a belief yesterday, they messaged me about, oh, I'm not worthy. Okay, so who said that to you? What have you seen that means that that's true for you, or someone like you? So it can mean it's true because your mum did that, or maybe you have associated yourself with somebody. Oh, I'm like that person, but that person does this, therefore that must be me too. So looking at the story around, so if you, like I say, if you have the belief of I'm not worthy, look at the story that's made that happen. If you are drinking, look at the origin story. So I drink when I always drink. So you've got the start is I drink when I'm happy or when I'm really sad. The extremes are both true. Okay, so why do I do that? Who do I know that's done that for me? Who's gifted me that? Because it's come from somewhere else. It hasn't just come from you thinking that's the right thing to do. It's been gifted. Does that make, I hope this all makes total sense. And if you are an EFTer and you have done the work, this might be a slightly different way to do things, but it's a really fascinating way to do things. And it does pave the way for even deeper work, for even deeper inner child work, helping that little version of little you. So if you can do that today and then tomorrow, and on Thursday, we're going to come and bust how to then completely bust these patterns apart and just stop the pattern at the most at the best way, in the best moment, in the most agreeable moment. I've got the word I can't think of. In the best moment. So when you have your pattern, you know your story, then we're going to bust open this pattern at the best point for you. That means that you will be able to see it coming and you'll be able to stop it at the best time for you. You'll be able to see it, stop it, and change and do the cause and effect, change the outcome. And we're going to talk about that cause and effect on Thursday. Now, what I have decided to do is on next Monday, do a masterclass privately on Zoom, so that we all can come along and show our findings and see, okay, so what's the next step for you? How are you going to put this into your life? Okay, how are you going to make this over all the patterns, over all the things? How are you going to take this and change everything in your life? That's what we're going to discuss. But because it's more sensitive, we're going to do that so you can be speaky. It's not to come along. It won't be going out So the masterclass on Monday will not be sent out to everybody. So you do need, because of the sensitivity, I'm hoping, of people bringing their stuff. So it won't be recorded. Well, it might be recorded, but only for the people who are there. It won't be sent out by email to everybody else, whereas these ones are sent out. So keep an eye out for the masterclass invite that is totally private. And we are actually going to talk and have a conversation about what's come up for you this week and how to go forward. I hope that's great for you. So do those things. I'll send you an email to confirm what to do. Watch this again. You'll get I'm putting this on YouTube, so you'll have to watch this again here or in the group. And I will see you Thursday at 10. Hopefully a lot more aware of some amazing stories. Tap and get some stories right now, or as many stories as you can. If you can get like even 50 stories, 20 stories, 5 stories, however many stories you can get, just see if you can get a few more, because the more stories you can get, the more you can see what is going on a bigger scale. Even if you're like, I don't remember that, or that's not mine, or that was from like, hang on, I wasn't even alive in Victorian times or Egyptian times. Whatever comes up, write it down and bring it with you on Thursday. And again, as always, message